Let's talk about something that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but is treated as an absolute inevitability by the world's top cryptographers. We're talking about the ticking clock on the entire crypto world. A day, called Q-Day, where a new kind of computer could shatter the very encryption that holds everything you know about digital assets together. Right, so what is Q-Day? You won't find it on your calendar, but for the experts protecting literally trillions of dollars in digital assets, the question isn't if it's coming, the only question is, how do we survive it? So, what's really at stake here? Well, Q-Day threatens the fundamental trust that makes any blockchain valuable in the first place. In the next few minutes, we're going to simulate what that day could actually look like. And, more importantly, we're going to explore what you can do to get ready for it. Okay, let's get super specific. Q-Day isn't some flick of a switch where all encryption everywhere suddenly breaks. It's the moment a quantum computer can successfully run something called Shor's algorithm. Now, you can think of this algorithm as a kind of master key, one that's specifically designed to crack the exact type of math problem that protects most of our crypto and, frankly, a huge chunk of the internet. When a quantum computer can do that in minutes, the game completely changes. And believe me, we are getting closer fast. Big players like Google's quantum AI team are making these machines more reliable at an exponential rate. So this isn't just some abstract theory anymore. It's an all-out engineering race, and the finish line is definitely in sight. And hey, if you need proof that this is real, just look at who's taking it seriously. The U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, that's NIST, they've been working on new quantum-resistant standards since way back in 2016, and in 2024, they finalized the first batch. And think about this. The NSA, the agency in charge of protecting national security, they started upgrading their own critical systems to be quantum resistant back in 2022. That's not a drill. That's not a research project. That is the clearest signal you could possibly get that this threat is being taken very, very seriously at the highest levels. So to really make this hit home and feel a little less abstract, let's run a simulation. Let's just imagine for a second you wake up one morning, you check the news, and it's happened. What happens next, hour by hour? It all starts with a single research paper. Within hours, the headlines are everywhere, triggering a massive wave of panic selling across all crypto markets. But the real chaos, that begins when the major exchanges start freezing withdrawals to protect themselves. And as you know, in the crypto world, that action alone is enough to spark a second, even bigger wave of absolute fear. But here's the really scary part. The public announcement might not be the first time this power gets used. I mean, think about it. A sophisticated attacker, maybe a nation-state, could have this capability for months beforehand, silently targeting and draining high-value wallets. The first public theft wouldn't just be a hack. It would be a world-changing security event. Okay, but here's the thing. The fallout wouldn't hit everyone the same way. Not every cryptocurrency faces the same level of risk. In fact, the vulnerability, it varies dramatically from one coin to the next. So who's in the most trouble? Well, Bitcoin is probably the most vulnerable. Why? It would need a really messy, contentious hard fork to upgrade, and millions of older wallets have their public keys just sitting out there, exposed. Ethereum is actually in a better spot. It has a clear upgrade path. But it faces this mammoth challenge of getting all of its users to migrate. And then, you've got chains that were built from day one to be quantum resistant. They use completely different kinds of math that quantum computers just aren't good at solving. And to really put Bitcoin's vulnerability into perspective, just think about this. Satoshi Nakamoto's wallets, which are holding about 1 million BTC, use an old, incredibly vulnerable address format. If a quantum attacker were to just drain those wallets, the psychological shock to the market would be absolutely catastrophic, something we've never seen before. Okay, deep breath. That was the doom and gloom part. Now let's talk about what you can actually do about it. This isn't about getting anxious, it's about taking action. Here's a clear, simple framework for how you can prepare. First things first, audit your wallets. See if you have any cryptos sitting in those old, vulnerable address formats. Step 2, migrate your funds to modern addresses, like Bitcoin's SegWit, which add a crucial layer of protection by not exposing your public key until you actually spend from it. Third, you might want to consider researching some of those quantum-resistant assets we talked about as a potential long-term hedge. And finally, you gotta watch the signals. When you see research from places like NIST and Google start to accelerate, that is your cue to act with real urgency. So what's the big picture here? Well, I think it's crucial to see Q-Day not as some kind of crypto apocalypse, but more like a great filter. It's a massive,
ecosystem-wide stress test that will ultimately decide which projects are built to last and which aren't.
You know, this isn't the first time cryptography has faced a threat like this. Not at all. Its entire history is just one long cycle of adaptation. Old standards break, and we invent and move to stronger ones. Q-Day will be the biggest transition we've ever faced, for sure. But the basic principle is exactly the same.
So we'll end with this thought. The projects that do survive this massive stress test, they're probably going to emerge stronger and more trusted than ever before. So the real question isn't whether crypto itself will survive. The question is, will you be on the right side of the transition when it happens? Are you ready?